You could be perfect for somebody on a date, but you'll end up ruining it if you make just one of these mistakes. Now, the first one is actually an improper mindset. It's something that I struggled with for a long time, and it's the mistake you're most likely making right now. It's called the "I hope she likes me" game. If you show up trying to sell yourself and trying to impress them, you've already lost. This doesn't mean you shouldn't want the date to go well, but she should get the impression that you don't chase and say yes to everybody. Now, as you get more experience, you'll develop an abundance mentality and you will naturally stop doing this. But in the meantime, it's just a further reason why you should just focus on having an engaging conversation. Now, this next one is extremely common, and it's just picking the wrong place to go. Like, movie theaters are by far the worst because you can't cover any ground. You're just watching a movie and you can't talk. So definitely avoid it. If you met through Tinder, I mean, you are some random guy from the internet, so you'll want to do somewhere public, a coffee or a drink, not at your house. Also not like some intimidating fancy dinner date or anything like that. Now, since you are some random dude that she likely doesn't know well, you shouldn't be trying to bring her home with you either. That's just likely going to put that much more stress and things that you're going to be nervous about having to try and do. And I mean, you shouldn't be heavily flirting or touching. Like, there is a way to do that to, hook up on the first date, but that's, if you don't really have a lot of experience, it's just going to be kind of something that gets in the way. And even if you do want something more casual, this is still a great way to do it. Like, as I mentioned in a recent video, as long as they find you attractive, which is always a requirement, a spark gets created through good conversation. And that's how you should view it as, just it not being dry at a minimum. What I would do is right before the date, well, not right before, like a day before, the day of, I would say that I have something to do after, like for work or whatever it is. And then I only have like 60 minutes or 90 minutes. And for one thing, it helps just in case I got catfished, though I was fortunate enough that it never happened. And hopefully they would never think I catfished them. But yeah, so 60 to 90 minutes. It also helps to just kind of reduce flakiness, that it's just going to be a quick thing, because they're nervous too. Dates are kind of scary. They're just like, there's a lot of uncertainties, and it's like maybe they're worried that you're going to make a move or whatever. If it's just like very obvious, it's just going to be a quick thing, then they'll be more likely to go through with it because there's less pressure surrounding it. Now, you're going to be in a pretty good spot if you don't make these 3 mistakes that we just talked about, but let's rapid fire some other ones. So the first one is when guys kind of start making plans for the second date while they're on the first. I mean, like if they really like you, it doesn't matter. That won't really change anything, but it's like why? It's just, they're kind of be desperate at that point. After that, talking about exes, that's pretty common, unfortunate. I mean, if you're dating somebody for years and years and you have all your stories with them and your experiences with them, like, it's hard to like talk and just like exclude the massive part of your life of the last several years. But obviously you can just like gloss it over. You don't have to say, oh, I was with my ex when I did this. You can just say you did this. Politics, that's a big one. I mean, I know some like women and guys, like, you have to have the same views. I mean, I guess it would be better, like, if it didn't come up and you hit a date off and it worked really well and it's like a deal breaker for her, it would probably be less of a deal breaker once they find out that they actually like you. So maybe if you have to share that, do it like after the first date. Doesn't really matter. And flowers and gifts and anything like that, just weird. Yeah, especially like really early on is fine, obviously after that, but yeah, it's just weird. Don't do that. They don't want that. And lastly, just make the mistake of going on your phone. I know one thing that I used to do, like the very, very first dates, because I was so not wanting any sort of awkward silences, that I would just pull up my phone and I actually had a list of things to talk about. And I would just be like, oh, that's cool. And I don't know if I like said, oh, somebody's messaging from work, sorry about this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, that's an option, I guess, but I wouldn't really suggest it. You can probably, I mean, if you need to, go ahead. Just try to like very much limit going on your phone. So to summarize, you're not there to impress them. You're there to see if you can fit well together. If you're two puzzle pieces that can fit, you should pick a spot where you can have a one-on-one conversation, not a theater, and to finally do not mess up an otherwise good date by trying to be aggressive and trying to escalate. I mean, that's literally what I used to do. I would, and I've realized if it's just kind of like weird, it's like, why try to, make something happen when you don't have any sort of indication that they actually like you yet? A second date is pretty solid indication that you can potentially go down that road. But I mean, dates can actually be pretty fun. I think like once I actually got good at them, which is like, once you get good at something, especially like cold approach and dates, it happened at the same time where I kind of figured them out. And that's why I always say like, nobody should ever hit 1,000 cold approaches done, because you know, you're eventually just going to meet somebody that you really like, unless you are completely off the mark and, you know, don't put any effort in your appearance or just very aggressive. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong if you've done 1,000 cold approaches and haven't met somebody. Because I mean, like, obviously if I've been on hundreds of dates, then I shouldn't be giving advice, because that's just way too many dates. That just shows a lot of failure. And that's why it's like, I haven't gone on a date for a very long time, because I've been in a relationship for a very long time. But yeah, dates can actually be a lot of fun. Like, once it started clicking for me, like, it's almost like a high afterwards. Like, it's actually fun. Like, I start replaying it in my mind. I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. This is fun. We hit it off. We did this and that. And, you know, a lot of guys will end up, you know, attributing that excitement towards the woman, towards the girl they met. And obviously, you know, being excited about meeting somebody cool, you should attribute that feeling towards finding somebody cool. But at the same time, it's also your skill set. It's also you figuring some things out, and that if you can replicate it with one person, you can do it with somebody else. And that's basically it. So don't like fall for the first person that happens to want to go on a second date with you, because you will have a lot of options if you just focus on the experience. But that is it. Before we go, if anybody needs a little bit of extra help, I offer coaching for reasonable, inexpensive, usually like around 10 guys at one time. That sounds bad. That just, you know, help your profile, whatever it may be, cold approach, relationship stuff, kind of. I mean, I have been in a relationship for like 12 years. I guess I could talk about it, but I feel like that's, I'm not as qualified. I don't know. But anyways, that's it. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.